Hello everybody, I'm the HappyCabbie, and this here is going to be a video response to a person by the name of Heather, who is the partner of ZJ. Hi Heather, hi ZJ. Basically, I'm going to be posting annotations to your video as well as links down in the description. Also, very important, I do encourage, after you're done watching this video, to read my blog post that I posted yesterday, because I'm going to be packing that thing with lots more information than what I'm going to be putting here in this YouTube video. But nevertheless, Heather's video, which by the way was her first video, assuming, because I don't know if she has a YouTube channel of her own, but definitely it's the first time that I've seen her. And might I say that, first of all, I'm very impressed. She definitely has the ability and the potential to become a great YouTuber. She's very well spoken, passionate about her beliefs, and furthermore, I wish you and ZJ the best in the world, and I hope you two have a happy life together. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be critiquing some points that you made in your video, as well as the follow-up Twitter exchange that ZJ had. And once again, all links are going to be down in the description, and the links to the tweets are actually going to be on the blog post, so you can actually read the words for your own self. But anyway, Heather's video starts out as basically a critique of sex-positive feminism, but then it tends to segue into those that espouse, sex workers, such as those that work in strip clubs, those that work in pornography, those that work as prostitutes, are really not representing the cause of feminism that well, and that is because of her perceived perceptions of what sex work is like. Now, I'm going to be giving you a different type of response. There's a lot of people that have already been making responses. My perspective comes from that of a purchaser of sexual services. Yes, I have been a John in the past. I am not ashamed to admit it. In my opinion, there is nothing wrong with, purchasing, time from a woman for companionship or, whatever kind of freaky stuff I'm going to be doing. Some of which I can't really disclose on YouTube because I don't want to get flagged. But nevertheless, I see nothing wrong with, hiring a prostitute or going to a strip club or, what have you. I see nothing wrong with it. There are women that I have encountered that did seem to enjoy their work. Most of them probably did not enjoy being with me just because, look at me. But nevertheless, they were properly compensated, and I had a good time, and they left. Now, there are several advantages to, using a prostitute over maintaining a relationship. This one simple thing is it's just simply easier. There's no need to, constantly walk on eggshells, make sure it's like, well, don't get her upset or anything like that, because then there's going to be... So, that is one positive advantage to it. The disadvantage, of course, is the risk of getting arrested, the risk of also catching sexually transmitted diseases, while if you have a relationship, of course, sexually transmitted diseases are there as well, but if you're hiring a person who does this for a living, your cause of risk is exponentially higher. Therefore, one of the things I frequently did is I got myself tested back in the time when I was doing it. I've not done it recently. I've not done it for quite a while, just simply because now I don't need to. Some of you guys know why, but for those of you that don't, it's my own personal life, so I'm not talking about my personal life anymore. But I will freely admit that I have used prostitutes in the past, and I see nothing wrong with it. So, anyway, ZJ followed up with several tweets talking about the fact that, most people would not, want to become. It's like, when they're growing up, I don't want to become, a prostitute, or I don't want to become a stripper, or I don't want to become, this, that, or the other. And they say, well, they would not accept these type of work, if other options were available to them. And as such, therefore, it's not good, redeeming work. Well, I can say this as a person who's had several jobs that I have absolutely hated, that I've simply done just for the money. So if you're going to claim that somebody is doing something just for the money, and therefore it's not a very good job, there are lots of jobs that people have done just for the money. Or possibly just for the health benefits. There are some companies that offer great health benefits. To say that, a job is not worth doing just because, everybody hates it. I mean, there's lots of jobs. For example, when I was a cab driver, it's like, oh my goodness, I hated that job because for some reason, drunk people hate me. Sober people usually like me, but if you're drunk, they just hate me. And unfortunately, as a cab driver, I had to deal with a lot of drunk people. Eventually, I just started operating around the hospitals, and you just do hospital runs all day. That's usually a lot better. But nevertheless, I have had many jobs where I hated it, but you know what? I did it just for the money. There's also further other tweets down there, and she went in a whole bunch of comment exchange between Divinity, and there's also Feminist Horror that also started interacting with her, and a whole bunch of others. And y'all, once again, that's all down and going to be in the video description. However, I want to say this. People who choose to do sex work for a living, be it porn stars, be it prostitutes, be it, the working on the phones, or whatever, it is their choice. And what the sex worker rights advocates are really fighting for is basically a healthy and safe work environment. In my opinion, Heather's video misrepresented a lot of their aims and goals. In my opinion, it was a straw man argument, and I'll explain why furthermore in detail in the blog. I want to keep this video as short and sweet as possible and direct to the point. The goal of the sex worker rights advocates, what they're fighting for is basically, safe working environment, so they don't have to worry about getting attacked, they don't have to worry about getting robbed or anything like that. They would also like to be free from worry about being arrested. There are two types of groups out there. There's those that favor legalization, and there are those that favor decriminalization. As I've had it explained to me, the difference is this. Legalization basically favors legal but restricted, as in who can do it, where you can do it, and stuff like that. Decriminalization, it basically refers to, it's like it's legal and with as minimal government interference whatsoever. As a John, I myself favor legalization, because what legalization would require is it would require mandatory health checks, it would require licensing, stuff like that, because if I'm going to be purchasing sexual services, I want to make sure that the person is properly licensed, because if they're licensed, that means that they've been recently tested, they've recently passed those tests, for sex, drugs, and stuff like that, and also the fact that they run a reputable business. They're not the type of person that, rips people off and robs them and stuff like that. That is what I would prefer as a customer of, prostitutes. Now, some people may object to mandatory testing. And some would say, well, it's not really that all effective. I mean, for example, AIDS can lay dormant for like 8 years. However, I will say this. Mandatory testing is better than no testing at all. Okay, and they say, well, how come the Johns don't have to be tested? Well, first of all, I have no objections. If you were wanted to test Johns, you could, for example, open up your own business and hire a lab technician and have that be part of the fee. You can, charge $20, to have them go through the random, whatever STDs are out there floating around right now, and say, okay, well, you're clean. It should take about maybe 10 minutes to have the test done and results come back, and bada boom, bada bing. It's like, bada bing, then you can go get it on. I would have no objection to that. I basically, would have no problem with it. And furthermore, it works out better for the customer anyway, because it helps to ensure that the prostitute is only seeing clean and healthy, disease-free clients. Now, one problem that the sex worker rights advocates bring up when it comes to legalization is, as it stands right now, for example, in the Nevada model, is that the licenses are, incredibly. Basically, you have to be incredibly rich to afford a license, and you also have to have a clean background, something that a lot of prostitutes would not qualify for. In my opinion, mandating a clean background is just something that, most other jobs don't require. Most other jobs that I've applied for require a clean background from, 1 year, 2 years. Some require 3 years, but, I'd say 1 or 2 years is very, very reasonable. If you've had no criminal past in the past 2 years, fine, I have no problem with you getting a license. As far as the license being extremely high to where only the wealthy can afford it, I definitely agree. Licenses should be definitely brought down. Basically, in my opinion, it should be no more expensive than acquiring a food vendor's license. Because really, I mean, you're both dealing with sausages, right? Another problem that they bring up is, for example, with the brothels. You go into the brothel, you pay a lot of money. Last time I went to a brothel, it was a few $100s. Of that, the woman only gets half, and in addition to the half that she gives to the house, she also has to pay her room and board. So the money that she's actually getting for those services could eventually even whittle down to 25%. I definitely do see that as a problem. One of the problems right now with the brothels being so extremely highly expensive is the high taxes and also the high licensing fees that they have to pay, which of course they then pass that on to the prostitutes, and the prostitutes pass that on to the customer. If you were to lower the licenses to where basically anybody could afford it, anybody could qualify for it, it would invite more competition, and then free market would take place. Competition naturally brings prices down, and also competition makes, services that much better. And, you don't have to work in a brothel. That would be something that I would favor. I would see no problem with you, for example, just setting up your own business and doing alcohol services. One thing I would object to is basically I don't want my next door neighbor to be bringing clients in all hours of the night. Therefore, what I would propose is, zoning laws to be in effect. Because we have strip clubs in the United States, just, put them in the same part of town, where the strip clubs are. Some strip clubs are located in seedy neighborhoods, but not all of them are. Some of them are actually in pretty nice places. For example, here in the Phoenix area where I was from, you had them in some, like Christie's Cabaret, for example, was one that was really, really nice neighborhood. So they don't have to put them in the bad neighborhoods. Just put them in the commercial districts and you're perfectly fine. That is something that I would favor. But nevertheless, I do encourage you guys to read my blog down below because I post a lot of information down there. And anyway, ZJ and Heather, I thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I am the HappyCabbie. I wish you guys lots of luck in the future. And Heather, I hope we see more videos out of you. Have a good day.